All right, hello, everybody. My name is Gabriel Rucker, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Titen AI. And today we're bringing you another amazing episode of Tales from the Pantheon. And so today we've got my good friend B to talk all about his career, marketing, being a super connector, and all the fun things that you guys saw in the invite there. But before we kick that off, I want to give a little bit of a preface on what Tales from the Pantheon is and also what Titen AI is. So Tales from the Pantheon is basically a no BS podcast where, we talk about, all the different things that are going on inside of entrepreneurship, getting in insights and advice from industry leaders, but no fillers, no BS, real authentic stories and information that's really tangible for our audience. And so our audience is mainly a lot of the people that we serve with Titen AI. And so essentially we help, decision makers, so manager level or higher, professionals and entrepreneurs, as well as professional communities and enterprises with basically 10xing their engagement and their network sizes with the platform that we're building. So we actually recently just launched V2 this weekend for everything. So definitely want to make sure that we get everybody to check that out. But enough about us. We'll jump back into that in a little bit. I want to introduce B, but before we do that, let's also recognize one of our amazing partners, Restream. They are part of the platform that we are actually using. So definitely go ahead and try them out if you want to do any podcasting, if you want to do any recordings for sessions, things like that. We're able to give you guys 20% off. So if you use the code Restream20, you can get 20% off for the software. So wanted to make sure we give, one of the amazing shout outs to, one of our amazing partners that helps us put this on every week. And so without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on B. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. So let's go ahead and if you want to just give a little bit of a preface about, yourself, your background, then we can kind of go in from there.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'll give you the 1 minute background. So, most people don't know that I started out as an engineer that ended up in marketing. When I was an engineer, I did a lot of work with mid-sized businesses as a sales architect. And so I helped basically architect networks for large organizations, anywhere from about 50 to 1,000 type employee range. So a lot of my talks were talking to CEOs, C-level executives, understanding what's going on in a business, and then building out roadmaps, like how do you get from A to B to C within the organization. And I got to work with customers like the Lushes of the world, large law firm, manufacturing, not-for-profits, whole bunch of different types of stuff. And that's where I picked up most of my business skill set. So business understanding, sales, leadership, technology, all came from that. 7 years ago, though, I started this business. And I started building out websites, Google Ads, SEO. I got to a point where I just hated doing 8-hour websites on the weekend. And so I started looking for different marketing agencies to work with. And as I did that, I noticed that most marketing agencies didn't really understand business, and most business people didn't really understand marketing. So there's always that gap, right? And so I thought I could bridge this gap. And so as I put people in the same meetings, they didn't speak the same language. Every marketing agency says they can do everything, but only 11% are good at 1 to 3 things, and 89% are good at nothing. And so I kind of became this marketing connector because I've talked to over 1,102 different marketing agencies and experts, and I work with about 11% in my vetted network. And all I do now is I'm just a connector. So I understand what a business needs from a marketing perspective, and then what the marketing agencies can provide, and then make connections.
No, that's amazing. And I didn't even know the number had gotten to over 1,000. I know last time we talked, it was like at 900. So that's why I put in all the marketing collateral and everything. But I mean, that's amazing, man. So, tell me a little bit more about what inspired you to, create the company, and, how did you realize that this was really like a systematic problem that, you wanted to solve?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I started a whole bunch of stuff before. Like I always was an engineer, but then I would be like a personal trainer, and I ran a course for financial stuff and all that stuff, right? But when I came to the marketing world, like what kind of actually interested me was, hey, I could make passive income doing something like this. That's kind of like what got me into it. But once I kind of got into it, I'm like, oh, this is a really hard problem to solve. Like there's businesses that are relying on agencies, and agencies are not fully telling the truth all the time. And so basically businesses get used. And so I thought like, okay, I got to about 400 to 500 agencies that I had met, and I didn't find that like one marketing agency that could do everything. And that's kind of where it clicked for me, where I was like, oh, this is a puzzle piece. Like there's a whole bunch of different marketing partners, and depending on what a business needs, they need more than one partner to get things done. And there is no better way to do it than to use someone like a marketing broker, right? Like, and I also noticed in the marketing broker space, one, it was blue ocean, and the people that were coming in were trying to shortcut it. And so they're just like, they're not meeting with all the agencies. Like, I don't think there's a single marketing person that's met with as many agencies as I've probably met with in the last 7 years, right?
No, 100%.
Yeah, but most people will build lists and then they'll put out an RFP and then people will respond and they'll just introduce people without even knowing what the agencies actually do. And so it's just a really hard problem to solve. And I like solving hard problems.
Yeah, and I mean, I've talked to a lot of different people in the marketing space. It's actually the area where I cut my teeth initially, right? And so definitely don't know anybody that's done the volume that you've done, like just period. I mean, some people, they'll find their tried and true, maybe like 2 or 3 other agencies that they'll work with, and share, minor projects here and there. But I mean, also, I've seen it in different categories, especially as people, continue to grow. It's very difficult for you to be good at everything, right? Especially for different industries, sectors, everything like that. And everybody has, really great niches that they, operate extremely effectively in. But, it's amazing that, I stumbled across meeting you and like some of the processes, because like we could nerd out about marketing literally all day.
Yeah.
But no, it's really great kind of hearing the thought process and how you kind of built everything. And I know one of the unique things about you specifically is really the connector part. And what we're building at, Titen AI, it's really about, helping people with, finding and maintaining these, large networks. And so you say that, you're not just a marketing agency, you're really a connector, right? And so what does that mean to you personally? And, how has the identity kind of evolved as you've kind of grown as well?
Yeah, I think at my core, I've always been a connector. I kind of think, there's 3 different types of super connectors in my mind. Once you kind of get into this world, and one of the types of super connectors is like an intuitive super connector. This is someone who just at their core wants to connect with people and connect people together. And I think you're also an intuitive super connector, right? Like you can tell you just enjoy the process of connecting, right? The second type of super connector, I consider someone that gets attracted to because of what they do. So they might even they might run events, they might have a really brilliant mind. Whatever it is certain people are attracted to them because of the core thing they do is just their unique ability, and it attracts people, right? And because of that, they get to know a lot of people. And then the third type of super connector, I consider kind of more of a transactional super connector. They built a list of people and they're just like, hey, who do you know? Who do I know? How do we help each other? It becomes more of a transactional relationship. So I think there's these kind of 3 super connectors, and my evolution of becoming kind of like this intuitive super connector is I would always do it even before I had this business. Like people be like, I'm struggling with this. I'm like, you should go talk to this person if they were in my network. I think how it's evolved is just that my network has evolved. And as my network evolves, I can help more people and I can make more connections. And I'm currently at the point where like I have thousands of connections and I'm finding what's the best way to, manage that database, manage that energy levels, because you only have so much energy that you can give to your network, right? So that's kind of the stuff that I'm working on currently now through the evolution. I'm just trusting my superpower a lot more than I used to.
Yeah. And I mean, it definitely is a superpower, right? I mean, I think there's some of the parts that are innate, but I think a lot of it can be learned as well. And it just comes with, a lot of practice and a lot of kind of analyzing those situations. And I think the 3 buckets that you mentioned, are kind of a perfect explanation of how super connectors kind of, I guess, operate or look at the world, because not all super connectors are created equal. Not all, industries or sectors kind of operate with relationships in the same way as well. But I know that there's a lot of hard challenges, especially in the early stages when it comes to, actually building a business specifically around, communication, connection and trust. So, what were some of those hard early challenges that you faced and how did you kind of overcome those?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't know a lot about the marketing space, right? Like I'd built websites, Google Ads, and SEO, but I didn't know how agencies actually ran, and what structures there were and the different types of agencies, right? Like now I know there's 5 different types of agencies and there are subcategories for them, right? And so in the beginning, you kind of like default a lot on trust, right? Like you'll look at stuff and you'll look at things like, okay, it sounds like they build really good websites, they do good Google Ads, and they talk about SEO in the right way. But then you realize the way that they actually run their business is far from what they say they do. And so in the beginning, it was hard because sometimes you would make matches and the matches wouldn't work, right? They'd work like maybe 30% of the time. And so that was hard, especially for someone like me who like I want things to work and certainty is really important to me. And so that's why I had to keep building my network and keep building my network. And even to today, like I get it probably right 70 to 80% of the time, right? But compared to what's out there, like you trying to do it yourself, or like, you know, if you're trying to find a marketing partner yourself, typically it takes 3 to 5 tries before you find someone you like. And most businesses need multiple marketing partners. So what is the likelihood of you finding a great marketing partner on the first try? It's probably like less than 10%, right? You're going to go through one partner, work with them for 3 to 6 months. They fail, use another one, then use another one. It can take you 2 to 3 years to find someone that you like. And those 2 to 3 years, what a waste of time and money, right? And headache and stress. Like, so I've kind of gotten to the point where now I'm like, okay, how close can I get to 100% when it comes to making good matches? And if you need multiple partners, there's no better way of doing it. Like, if you're struggling, you know, under 10% to hire one partner, if you need to hire 2, 3, sometimes 4, it's impossible. There's no way you can do it without having a crazy network and having awareness of like who's good at what time.
Yeah, the multiplier definitely stacks in the opposite direction as you kind of add on additional layers. And it becomes like, especially if those agencies may have to collaborate on different fronts or share materials or anything like that, like it can become an absolute nightmare. I mean, I've ran into that myself, even with dealing with a lot of different marketing projects. And like most of the time I've operated on like a consultant capacity where, you know, it's just myself coming in and kind of doing audits or, you know, reviews, or, you know, maybe I'll do some actual materials or collateral. But even then, it's like pulling teeth sometimes, and you're also working with the wrong partners or agencies, especially if you're not the ones choosing them or orchestrating kind of the puppetry in the back end. So trust me, I felt that pain on a spiritual level multiple times throughout my career.
Yeah, I bet. And you brought up a really good point, is because even if you find like 3 or 4 partners, what happens is like if their services overlap, this partner's going to try to steal this service, and that partner's trying to steal this service. So you never actually get the truth from anyone. So a lot of times if I'm like connecting in the back end, I'm like, okay, well, this guy's really good at Google Ads and Facebook. This person only does SEO. They don't do SEO and Google Ads and Facebook. Or if I'm like, okay, I think this partner would be a really good fit for this part of the service, I'm like, you're not allowed to take this part. Like, as long as you're okay with that, then you can be introduced. Then that doesn't create conflict, right?
Yeah,
within the relationship.
I'm a big fan of telling people to stay in their lane, and so I love that that policy and that kind of setup for sure. And I mean, going into you know, the network portion of everything. So I mean, you've interviewed, you know, over 1,000 of these organizations. I mean, that's a feat in and of itself, right? But what is the vetting process that you're doing to actually, you know, choose that, you know, top 10% that it sounds like you're, you know, grabbing?
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. So everything always starts with the first 30-minute call. And that first 30-minute call is like I got pretty intuitive at this point. So I know like certain questions to ask, certain things to listen for. And so if someone like passes that kind of like radar, I go, okay, you talked about being really good at these services. Can you send me more information on them? So if you're really good at websites, send me the websites, what price points, how you structure, how you do your projects. Tell me how you do your Google ads, your Facebook ads. Show me what your creative looks like. So I'll do that second level of filtering. And then if that all looks good, I go, well, okay, you're welcome to join the partner network. I have 2 different networks in the back end, right? And the partner network, they actually have to pay to get into. That's like another filter. I have had people to be like, oh, we do $10,000 a month contracts and we have this many customers. And I'm like, well, this is how much my partner network is. It's not that much. They all of a sudden, oh, what's the value of the R? I'm like, dude, the fact that you just sent this email, and if you're making as much as you say you're making, this email is worth more than what I just told you I was going to charge. So there's like little filters. And then if people are joining the partner network, I go through 30 to 35 questions about their agency, how they do things, everything from like how their team is structured, where they are, what their values are, the type of customers they work really well with, the ones that they don't, the things they do and do not touch. So I get a good insight into like all the different aspects of the agency. And if all that is good, that's when they kind of join the network. And then from there, it's just an ongoing vetting process, right? Like, so if I introduce them to a customer, I let the customers know, hey, they've gone through my vetting process, but I haven't worked with them before. Or if some customers or some agencies I've worked with like 8 times, I'm like, cool, I worked with them 8 times. They killed it for 6 out of 8 projects. The 2 projects that didn't work, this is why. And so it's like giving people that like insight and that update, because agencies also do change with time, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, you actually just gave me a really good idea for the platform that I'll talk with you about later to like pick your brain on it. But there's definitely some areas within that I mean, it's a difficult process, right? As you're going through and matching all these different people, especially when you think about like, out of that thousands, it's basically like over 100 different agencies that you're really like, putting into different categories or sections or projects and facilitating all these different things. And like the main ICP for you too, like these aren't like, your mom and pop, like, SMBs, right? Like these are, very big organizations, like, 7, 8 figures that you're working with in terms of, the sizes of these organizations, right? So these
Yeah.
aren't small fish. And so then you're also having to deal with not only the organizations that are doing the actual work, but you're having to deal with the organizations that have the actual needs, right? So you're looking at both sides of this marketplace and really doing this fine dance between everything. So
Yeah.
it's like what really separates the top performers from some of the other ones that don't perform. Where it's like, okay, I'm going to recommend you for one project versus okay, I'm going to keep going back to you guys consistently because as long as you're able to take the work, I'm going to give you the work, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So it really just, well, one factor comes down to trust. Like if I pass customers off and they're very like truthful, like they're not an agency that says they can do things and then all of a sudden it just doesn't work, right? Trust is a massive aspect for me. The way that the organization is structured, right? Like, so I don't work with super, super large agencies. Like I have a couple that are like 200 to 300 person agencies, but those are rare. Usually the agencies that I work with are underneath 50 people. And so I find that the ones that are between like the 30 and 50 level, like if they're niche, they're usually pretty good because to get to that like size, you have to be like pretty niche in the type of service that you offer, either service or industry. It's funny because I don't really like working with like industry specific agencies as much. I find that like they're weaker marketers. I like to work with the ones that are more like niche on services because then they can work with multiple markets. They get ideas from the other ones they can use for like cross pollinate, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there are agencies that are like underneath 20 people, and typically the founder is still involved. These agencies are like more for custom projects, like where you have to think a little bit more outside the box. You need a little bit more resources, but it's like the team is pretty cohesive. So when I notice those types of agencies, I like to have them in my network. And then it just comes down to like this actual performance aspect, right? Like I got an email marketing e-commerce agency that doesn't even really have a website, like, but they're killer. Like there's one of my customers who always replaces his agencies every year and a half. He doesn't care. He's just like every year and a half I change them. He stayed with this one agency for 4 years, so it tells you like they're on top of it. And I have other customers with them too. So like that trust gets built over time as well.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, I mean, a very high bar to set, and the fact that they're able to maintain that is also, amazing as well, right? I think another big thing comes down to, the actual process when you're talking with the organizations themselves, right? So, like, how are you looking at, their marketing goals, and how do you identify what they truly need so that you can actually provide those curated matches?
Yeah, that's the fun part of all this is like when you talk to a business, like it can be B2B, B2C, B2B to B2C, like there's just all these different things and every organization is structured differently, right? Usually I'm working with 7 and 8 figure businesses. So it depends on, okay, what kind of leadership do you have? Where are you trying to head to for your business? Like, what are you trying to get to? What channels have you ran? What resources do you have in-house? What do you have externally? What are you spending? What's the results? Like you kind of like understand the maturity of the business and where it's headed. And then based on that, it's like, okay, well, it sounds like this marketing strategy makes the most sense because I've talked to so many businesses and so many agencies at this point. Like, I'm like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? What about this channel? And finding like what makes sense. So a lot of the times for businesses, they're missing strategy. Like they just have put a bunch of stuff to the wall or they're just in the right market. So the business has grown, but they have no actual marketing strategy in place. And so in those scenarios, I'm offering FCMOs to come in, build out a strategy so then I can support the channels that the strategy needs, right? And that just all depends on the type of customer. So every customer is uniquely different. I have some customers who get like a fractional CMO ongoing and they've been using them for 4 years. And then I have some that they're like, hey, B, we just need a strategy and then we can get a marketing director in-house and then we might need 1 or 2 channels and then I support them on that. So everything is different. And I'm not tied to any one channel either, right? Like some people will come in for Google Ads and SEO, which everyone does. But then like I'm working with a lighting company for commercial buildings right now that they're in the 7-figure range. And their target audience is very different, but they have 4,000 people in their email list for the B2B side. So We're building an email newsletter. We're thinking about podcasts. We're thinking about doing events and giving them the ideas of how to do that. And then supporting them on the website side with design and development and building out a referral program. Like, it's just different strategies, right?
No, 100%. And so, I mean, what are some of the most common mistakes that you kind of see with, some of these later stage companies when they're, and even the business owners themselves as they're kind of evaluating, who to hire and how to get that marketing help?
Yeah, there's so many, but I'll list a couple. One is like, for example, if they're a larger company, they've either applied marketing to like their COO or their like sales, sales VP. It's like, listen, like, marketing does not fall underneath those two branches. Like, you need someone that truly understands marketing. So that's like a big mistake. And what actually ends up happening, and I've seen this in the businesses I've worked with, is that you do pass it off to someone that doesn't understand marketing. They hire the wrong person. You're spending $30,000 to $50,000 a month on the wrong things, but that VP won't tell the founder because they're afraid of the mistake that they made, right? And so you continue spending money on something that doesn't work. That's a big one. Two is there's no marketing strategy in place, which we just talked about. Like, I literally talked to a business doing 24 million last week. No marketing strategy. And I told them this 2 years ago. They didn't use me. Ended up hiring 3 other people, ended up all failing. Now they're back and like, B, can you help me find the right person now? And so sometimes people have to be ready to get to ask for help. The other mistakes is that they pass off they see marketing agencies as strategic, but marketing agencies are mostly built for execution. And I do think this needs to change in the day of AI. Like, they have to actually shift to being more strategic, but currently most marketing agencies are execution focused. And so if you're coming in as a business and going, hey, marketing agency, can you build my strategy and execute it? A lot of the times you're getting someone junior or not very high level building you out a strategy that's just tied to the services the agency does versus what you actually need. And so these are just like, man, I can keep going, but these are just some of the mistakes at a very, very high level that I think if people were aware of, they wouldn't make those mistakes anymore. And one other one, like, most people will meet with 3 agencies before they hire one of them. It takes me 15 agencies before I find one that I like. And so they're just not meeting enough people.
Yeah, no, I mean, 100%. I mean, there's definitely a dating process when it comes to picking the right like agencies or consultancy firms or, just like third-party individuals that I think a lot of people kind of skip out on, or they kind of skimp on, right? They're just like, okay, we've met with 3 people. One of these is like one of my friends. One of them is just some random guy I got a business card from 3 years ago, and I decided to reach out to him. And one of them was some random LinkedIn DM, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's meet. Like, it's just, oh, this perfectly happened at the right time. Oh my God, right? So like, a lot of the times, at least from what I've seen, like, it depends on, I mean, sometimes there's a perfect fit, but 9 times out of 10, it's not. It just kind of also falls into the numbers that you've kind of seen and adopted into, who to choose for the right projects, right? Because, I mean, I've seen it time and time again, even as people ask me for certain things. Like, people always ask, like, oh, I want to get connected with, XYZ. And I'm like, okay, but like, in what capacity? What are like the full-on needs that you have? Because like, I've got a broad network. I'm not just going to toss a random person in and just see if it fits, right? Like, sometimes I can do that for certain industries or sectors where I'm like, okay, I know both of you guys well enough to where I can like put 2 and 2 together, for you without you having to say what it is. But also there's a lot of times where people are like, yeah, I really want to, boost sales for my business. I'm like, okay, well, what are you currently doing right now? What do you need help with? Like, is this a website issue? Is this an SEO issue? Is this, is this like actual marketing materials or collateral issue? Like, are you still using door knockers or something? I don't know. Yeah. Right. So it's kind of crazy, just the blankets that are kind of placed on those things. But I mean, when it comes to, understanding the clients themselves, how do you align expectations with those business leaders and, even on the other side of it, like just the industry experts, so that both sides are positioned for success?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very transparent in the way I run my business. Like, integrity is one of my highest values. And so whenever I talk to a business, like, even in my like engagement letter, it's like, I don't promise results. Like, no one can. And if anyone does, like, they're lying to you. Like, it's just the truth. And marketing is an adaptive problem. It's not a technical problem. Like, a technical problem is something that everyone knows what the issue is, and there's one set solution to fix it. An adaptive problem is something that you can either move into a positive or negative direction, but it never really goes away, right? Like, you can sell your business, but then the business becomes someone else's problem. It doesn't go away. And marketing is exactly that. It's like, you can move your marketing in a positive or negative direction every single day that you're putting effort into your marketing efforts, right? And so when I'm talking to businesses, a lot of it is just like going, hey, these are the channels that I think make the most sense for you to run. Here's the expectations that you can have when you're running one. Like, for example, if you're running Google Ads, like it takes time to test. And if you have a smaller budget, it's going to take even longer to test. And so trying to get an ROI on it, like in the first month or two, is probably not likely. So you better be prepared for 6 months to a year if you have the right partner, right? Like, it's all the caveat of having the right partner. Or if you're going for SEO, I mean, everyone talks about, SEO taking a long time. It takes a long time. It's going to take even longer, and the landscape's constantly changing. Or when it comes to something like cold email marketing, right? Like if you don't have a really, really good offer and you don't know your ICP, cold email marketing is being extremely hard. And most people think they can just blast and go general. It doesn't work. I made that mistake. I made a lot of mistakes in marketing, which is why, and I like making the mistakes because then I can talk to businesses and be like, here's the mistakes I made and what I see my customers make, so that you don't make it and you're fully aware of what you're about to go into. And so I never want a customer ever to come to me and say, Behdad, you said something and it didn't align to what actually happened. Like I've never had that and I never want that.
Yeah. And I think that that experience that you're talking about is what I think classifies, not even just in marketing, but in business in general. Like that's why experience is always important. Now, granted, somebody could be in a space for, 20 years and still not be good at what they do, and maybe should have switched careers a long time ago. Right. But in general, I've seen those exact same instances because I failed at a lot of different campaigns. Right. I can admit that. I haven't been perfect with every single industry sector. There are industries I avoid because of it, because I'm I am never going to be good at healthcare. I can say this outright, right? I've done it for even my family and stuff like that. I have zero interest in healthcare. I have zero interest in fintech. I have zero interest in insurance. There are certain things where I'm just okay, even if I want it, even if I have the best marketing ideas for this, I know I don't have the pulse on these markets enough to where it makes sense. And I've tried it for some of them, right? And even getting little things the keywords correct for certain things, and it's different for every platform too. When you look at somebody that's advertising on LinkedIn versus somebody that's adding keywords information for Google Ads, or putting information into just every single different platform on social, right? Everything has its own separate algorithm and how they treat the data. And if the person doesn't know what they're doing and they just put a blanket in, or they just use ChatGPT or whatever it is, you're not going to succeed. Yeah. And I think we've seen it way more often than not with a lot of those things. And so it's really good to kind of hear some of the insights and strategies there. So, I mean, looking forward into the future, and I think you kind of tapped on this a little bit, but what were some of the biggest trends that you saw in marketing in 2025 that people should have been paying attention to if they haven't been? And then what do you think are the big trends for 2026?
Yeah, I think 2025, a lot of people started realizing you have to be using multiple marketing channels. We've been moving away from just being able to advertise to actually thinking about marketing as a whole, right? Because advertising is putting stuff on Facebook and Google Ads, but it's getting harder and harder to do, right? The bar keeps getting raised. Even for the companies themselves, they're struggling to keep the data and targeting the right people and et cetera, right? So that bar is being raised. And so people are thinking, well, what other channels can we use? Can we do influencer marketing? Can we do affiliate marketing? Can we do all these other things, right? Because they start realizing that building the brand actually matters, right? There's no easy money to print. It's becoming the long game. So I thought you see that a lot in 2025. And as AI is taking over, not taking over, but I would say that is enhancing and shifting things, right? You're seeing a lot of people put out very average stuff. Right? Average copywriting, average website design, average everything.
I honestly would say below average. So I think average is being very generous.
Very generous.
I've seen more slop than good things currently, especially with the AI wave.
This is true. This is very true. And it comes down to people not being specialists, right? They don't know what amazing copywriting looks like. So the copywriting that they get from ChatGPT is better than what they had themselves. So it went from a 1 out of 10 to a 3 or 4 out of 10, right? And so you start kind of seeing that, well, execution is becoming easier for people who truly know what they're doing in that channel. So if you have an amazing copywriter, they can use AI in a way that a normal copywriter can't, right? So it's becoming easier for the high level people to do more work and be more efficient. But for everyone else, it's just kind of average and good work. And I heard something that if you're doing good work in this environment, you get below good results. Like you don't really get any results, right? If you're doing, outstanding work, you're getting kind of good results. If you're exceptional, you're in the top 1%, 2%, you're getting 80% of the share of the pie, right? And you see it everywhere, right? Like from Google to, the biggest e-com businesses or SaaS businesses, they get the biggest share of the pie because they are doing things at an outstanding level. And so anyways, what's shifting is that AI is making it easier and easier to execute on things. So the people that are strategic are going to benefit the most out of it, and the high level experts. And what's going to end up happening with a lot of agencies that are just kind of doing average work right now, they're going to need to just kind of move from execution to being more strategic minded, need to truly understand the channels, need to truly understand strategy to be able to stand out. And so I think in 2026, you're going to see a shift in agencies that either have to shift that way quickly, or the newer agencies that are already thinking this way and building around that.
No, 100%. I think that's an amazing kind of thought process and how to look at, what the next trends are going to be, and kind of everything's been shifting just over the last, few months, especially as we've kind of gotten into this new AI wave where there is a lot more content that's being produced. People have to be, I think, more intentional than ever with how they're producing content, how they're creating things, and what the strategies are to actually implement some of those. So I know you talked a little bit about some of the channels and strategies and everything there, but what are some underrated ones, if there are any right now, that are actually producing some big returns that we can talk about?
Yeah, I wish there was like underrated ones. I think every channel, if used properly, could be very useful for a business. It really just depends on who it's being used for. There are some cool strategies where people use things like podcasting to just get in front of their ideal customer. It's not even for the podcast to grow. It's just like a fish hook to be able to pick up a customer into their environment. There's a lot of people also building out like newsletters and a following based on their personal brand and what they're passionate about, and then it somehow ties into the business, right? And this is kind of a strategy that I'm playing with because I really love talking about human connection and how to bring people together, and I have a whole model around that. And so my personal brand is around human connection and amplified relationships. And then my business brand is CJAM's, the marketing connector, and how to bring people together. So I'm using my personal brand to almost funnel in people to be like, oh, he does this for a living. He talks about human connection, but he does it for a living, right? And so those are like some interesting kind of strategies to use. There are people that also do like kind of like, if you're more of a local based business, or like, like a large service based business, like in law, or you do, lawn care or whatever, like the mail to the door, because not many people are getting mail these days. And so being creative and getting mail to the door actually makes a ton of sense. Go to a barcode, you go to a website, here's your free offer in your area. And so there are people that are doing that quite effectively. And the ones that do it really well aren't thinking of like sending 100 of those out. They're thinking of sending thousands and thousands of those out, right? It's kind of like cold email marketing. You need to send thousands and thousands of emails to get that response rate. So these are just some ideas and thoughts that I've heard work for other companies and work for mine.
Yeah, I think there's two examples that I actually really enjoy. And these are just personal people that I've seen, and I'm curious to hear some examples of other people that you've seen. But I know Justin Gordon, he's produced some really great content with like newsletters and everything like that. I think he got to like 25,000 plus, people that were kind of viewing some of his newsletters, and he got some really great traction there. I know Andrew Young was doing it really a lot as well with the audience that he kind of amassed on like the startup ecosystem side. And even a lot of his tech events, and then branched off into like, doing things for major conferences and stuff. So I think those are two of my favorite ones that I've seen over like the last year or two. Probably like 3 years, that have really amassed a pretty big and unique following just based off of two completely different strategies, but also kind of similarly. So I'm wondering if there's anybody you've seen that you're like, like actually a big fan of kind of how they've taken their marketing or content strategies, especially when it comes to like podcasts, newsletters, stuff like that.
Yeah, Rohan Sheath is someone that I like looked up to. Like he has, I think now, I don't even know where his LinkedIn count is. When I looked, it was over 100,000. But his whole newsletter is around networking, right? And he runs a marketing agency. He runs like quite a successful marketing agency. And yeah, his whole thing is around like how to network, how to think about networking, all that different kind of stuff. And right at the bottom, there's hey, you want to work with my marketing agency? It's here. And I'm like, that's such a genius play, right? Because he's amassing the audience. And from that, he's done great. He's gone on so many different podcasts around the world. And that's kind of like how he's been building his brand out, right? But he's also a brilliant affiliate marketer. Like, he just knows how this stuff works. So yeah, that's like one example of where I've seen this work really, really well.
That's perfect. And jumping back into, I guess the super connector side of everything, right? Which I know a lot of us don't really love the term super connector, but it's just what everybody else kind of associates with it. So we're going to use it, right? But I mean, we talked about this offline about the dislike for the actual term itself. But what advice would you have for business owners and marketers who want to build deeper and more strategic relationships in general, and kind of like grow their network and kind of amass this following of individuals that kind of go to bat for them when they need to?
Yeah, I have a whole model and framework that I've built around like amplified relationships and how people can build deep relationships really, really fast. But at the core of it is, one is like understanding kind of like who you are, right? A lot of people don't spend a lot of time figuring that out. Like, literally go through like your values, your beliefs, like what you think your life mission is and why you're doing what you're doing, and the stories that like made you who you are. Like, the more you get to understand who you are, the cool part is you start understanding other people better. And so when certain people say certain things, you get to connect with them deeper because you've done the deeper work yourself. And I think a lot of the most beautiful relationships built are when you connect self to self and you connect on the deeper level. Because you can connect on business, you can connect on sports and all this other stuff, which I consider kind of like secondary nodes and interests. But when you connect on the self, it doesn't matter what the interests are. You've connected with someone's core being. And the cool part about that, like, people go like, well, why do I want to build those deep relationships? It's like, dude, that's where everything comes from. Like, this one, people open up their contact book to like introduce you to people and move you ahead. Like, the people that I connect self to self with, man, the number of intros I make for them is like 30 to 40 different intros with like people that I've spent 7 years building relationships with, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten into $50,000 rooms and I didn't have to pay for it. I've gone speaking engagements and I didn't have to pay for it. Right? Like, you get all of these opportunities come because you built that relationship level. And imagine if you as a business owner are doing that. And then imagine if your sales team is doing that. Imagine if your other teams are doing that, right? Like, even if they're building connection within the company together, right? Like, your marketing and your sales team can connect and work with one another. How efficient would that team be if everyone liked each other and we were able to connect deeply and all that different kind of stuff? So to answer your question is just understand yourself, let others also understand themselves. And you can do that through journaling, counseling, through whatever, reading books, like reading people's life stories. Like, you get to understand a little bit more about yourself and reflect. And when you do that, then you can go out and use all the tactics to, send emails out and follow up. And I think the tactics are the tactics. You can find those anywhere, but the core of it is self-to-self connection.
No, it's a perfect way to describe it, right? And I think there's also another thing that I really want to highlight on too, which is giving value first, right? And I think you kind of hit on it a little bit, but I want to dive a little bit deeper into it with, how do people establish the philosophy, or how do they even interact or kind of utilize this to where, they give value first without expecting, that return back, right? Like, what is that thought process, and how do you see it? And, how did you deploy it when you're doing these intros and everything as well?
Yeah, it's a great question. When it comes to like giving value first, one, you need to know what you can give. So for me, like, the greatest value that I can give people is, one, either my knowledge or the way I think deeply about things, because I don't think most people have enough time to do it. So when I share things and knowledge, it's like, okay, I can help them. I spent, 2 years thinking about this thing. Here's the, paragraph that's going to explain it all to you so that you can kind of like take it and move forward, right? Or I know that my connections are quite valuable. So making connections for people is another thing, right? Like, obviously I have a transactional part of my connections where it's my marketing agency stuff, but I make so many connections on the personal side too, where I don't make anything from it. I just know it's of value to the people. But then when you kind of think about yourself, like, if someone's thinking about themselves, like, maybe I have money to give, maybe I have resources to give, maybe I have whatever it is. When you're talking to someone, then at least you have an awareness of like, this is how I can help. And if someone brings up something in a conversation where it's something you can help with, easy value add. Hey, I can help you with that. I got this fund. I can do that. I know this person. And just that process of just doing it without really asking and being aware of what someone needs kind of puts you further ahead.
No, 100%. So with your personal leadership style, right? So how have you evolved and grown as a leader, throughout the years, right? Like, how's how things transitioned from, when you first started to kind of like now with you kind of having this, great agency and, dealing with a lot of these, high tier businesses and everything.
Yeah. I think my leadership path started even before me running my business. It was kind of interesting because when I used to work at TELUS, they probably put over $100,000 into my training just and stuff that I wanted to do. So I've done things like conflict resolution courses, emotional intelligence courses, leadership courses. I got an MBA, a mini MBA, not a full MBA, a mini MBA, which is like 8 weeks.
I mean, it's just MBA is an MBA.
We understand the core concepts and stuff, right? Like it all makes sense. And so, and then also just being part of an environment where my manager, my director were just fantastic leaders. Like they just listened, they understood, they moved things out of your way. Like they were there to serve, right? Ultimately. And so when I was running my business, I kind of took that very same mindset, right? Like I understand that my team can't work at 100%. And I don't want to create that environment for them to work at 100% because they're going to burn out at some point. And so if I can get 80 to 85% of what I need out of my team and I can support them and they're there and they're thinking like, how can I help? Right? Like that's kind of how I take my leadership. It's like, just kind of be there for a coach, remove things out of their path, but also let them figure things out. And kind of enable them to become the best versions of themselves as we're kind of going through it. And that's kind of just how I lead my teams. And it's always kind of just been that way because I was just trained really well at TELUS to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes perfect sense as well. And then kind of going into the last question before we do what I call the lightning round, right? So I'm going to ask you some more kind of pointed, quicker questions, not really on the actual topic itself, but more general questions that we kind of ask to help out, the people in our audience. So the last thing before we jump into the lightning round is going to be what's something that you believed earlier on in your career, but you've kind of changed your mind completely about now?
Yeah, I think earlier in my career, I always thought that I needed to do things with people. And like I would need to have a co-founder and I need someone to work with. And I found that a lot of that was because I felt that didn't have the full skill set to succeed in business and do business well. And over time that kind of shifted where I went, oh, interesting. Like what are the things that I thought a co-founder could like help fill the gap or the hole on? And when I realized that it was for me, one, I wanted to have people around me that I could share my thoughts and ideas with. And two was like, I wanted to feel like I was a more solid salesperson. Like I used to have a co-founder in the business in the first 4 months of the business. And he was like a 10 out of 10 sales person because he used to work with enterprises and stuff. And when I compared myself to him, I was like an 8 out of 10, I would say. And I was like, oh, mate, but I'm not 10 out of 10. So I thought I wasn't good. But when I realized like, oh no, I'm 8 out of 10 and I can always reach out to him for help, or I can reach out to other people. I can get training if I really want to increase. I kind of let go of the thing of like needing someone else to run the business. I can just do it myself. And then I can build a network of people that I trust and mentors and friends and people that I could reach out to whenever I needed support. Right. And that kind of like shifted everything.
Nice. So now we are going to jump into my favorite part of the podcast, which is our lightning round, right? So I'm going to essentially ask you 5 questions. We can stay on the topics a little bit longer because we've got probably about, another 16 minutes. But these are going to be like, really, really good questions that some of these I usually actually typically ask a couple of times, but I'm going to hit you with each one. So what's one marketing myth you wish would die?
I think the myth of just like marketing ROI, like 24/7, like it's just like marketing, you got to think about it in terms of the long-term game and not just short-term all the time. And we're just so left brain thinking. So I really wish that like a part of that left brain thinking of just like all numbers died, because marketing really does have a whole right brain aspect to it. And the best brands in the world understand that. And that's why they're the best brands in the world. Because as soon as you see their logo or hear their music, like they click and there's an emotion connected to it. It's not just about numbers.
Perfect. And what's one book or resource that you would recommend to any entrepreneur?
This is in probably one of the top 5 books that I've read. It's called Chasing Daylight. I don't know if you've ever heard of that one. Yeah. Okay, cool. So that book I absolutely love. It was written by the KPMG CEO. When he heard that he had 3 brain tumors and 4 months to live, he wrote that book. And that book just put into perspective to me how short life is, and to enjoy life while you're doing it and not think like oh, when I'm 60, I'm going to be able to take time to retire and go travel with my wife. You have no idea if you have time until then, right? Like I have no idea if I'll be around here tomorrow, to be honest. So live life to the fullest, find the balance, do things that you love, that kind of thing.
Yeah. What's the best piece of business advice that you've ever given and that you've ever received?
That I ever received is, this was kind of funny, and this one kind of came from Tom Shipley, where I told him how much I was charging like 4 years ago, and he's like, Behdad, if you're charging $500, someone will pay $1,000. And I was like, all right, let me test that. And then, yep, sure enough, people would pay $1,000. And that was a great way to just double the amount of money I make on the front end. So that was really funny. And the best piece of business advice that I'd give is just so cliche, but it's just like, just enjoy the process and not the outcome. Like, you know, everyone says that line, but until a lot of these one-liners that you hear in life, everyone knows them. They're fundamental truths. But until you can actually attach experiences to them, you don't truly get them or understand them. And so for me, like I really there was a time about 2 years ago where I was like, oh, the outcome doesn't actually matter. It's the full-on process of what I'm going through that matters.
Wow, that's actually really good advice. Like that's fantastic. What's something that people misunderstand about you?
I think they misunderstand the depth of which I understand human connection. I think when people initially talk to me and they talk super connector and that kind of stuff, like they kind of get it. But until they start talking about human connection and what I pay attention to and how I think about like just little things that people say, they realize the depth that I really go into it. Because a lot of the times people will say, I'll say I'm a super connector. Like, oh, I'm a connector too. I never thought about that. And then but you just realize like, no, not at all. Like you just connect with people within teams. You don't think about the overall arching thing of it. So that's what I would say most people miss.
No, fantastic. And I'm about to ask the final question here, but if anybody has a question in chat too that they would like to ask, definitely please toss it in there because, you know, we've got a little bit of time left, so we might be able to get to 1 or 2 questions in the chat. But we'll see how long this last one takes, which is what's a small daily habit that's been a huge difference for you?
Yeah, this one's kind of new to me. It's like 2 months old. But I went to Tony Robbins and it's priming. And I've been doing it pretty consistently every morning. It's about 15 minutes. And it's the process of like breathing a certain way, finding 3 things that you're grateful for and reflecting on them for about 30 seconds to a minute. And then a meditation where you bring in certain light into the body to like make you feel whole, and then giving the energy out to the people you love around you. And then it ends with 3 things that you want to happen in the next 30, 60, 1 year, 3 years in the future. And then you do this thing called memory stacking. And so like positive memory stacking. Like, so now I'm going back into my memory and like moments that I really enjoyed, and I would put it into my heart. And that's another minute and a half of just that. I found that it shifts your brain into seeing way more positively. You start with way more energy in the day. And whenever I'm like with friends and family and stuff, I start like thinking, oh, this is something that I want to remember and memory stack so I can do it in the future. And it's brought me so much gratitude because I've lived in the Netherlands for 1.5 years and done a ton of traveling. And so now I'm like pulling up memories of travel and things that I've done, which I never used to do. Like every now and then you think about it, but you don't actively go, oh, I built all these memories. I'm not taking the time to remember them, you know? So that's been something I really, really, really like.
No, that's actually a really good process for self-reflection that I'm going to actually try to implement into my own everyday life, because I've realized certain things, I think recently, where I've like reflected on, you know, previous actions, or like one of my biggest things is a lot of people don't know that I'm actually a software developer. Like I actually know how to code and everything. Like I've shocked my family, my friends, like everybody. Just I don't know what it is about my face that doesn't scream like I know how to code, or like I can do math. I don't know what it is, but like even just thinking about it, when my dad actually reminded me of something like way back when, of like when I used to work on like little hardware projects, right? And so just like reflecting on some of those memories have been some of the things I've been doing recently as I've been like doing coding binges of like why I get into this in the first place, why I actually enjoy, why I actually enjoy engineering, right? Because I used to, this past month, which a lot of people don't know, I've been doing like 16-hour days to get our V2 ready. So I've literally, 16 to 20 hours. I've been getting basically between like on average about 4 hours of sleep for the last like 30 days. And so finally done with that, thankfully, but it's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah, no, we'll talk about that offline because there's actually some of the stuff that you mentioned. You inspired some of some of that
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
Yeah, we need to chat offline about that.
Oh, I love that.
There is a question that we got in chat here, and I'll pull it up for us to check out. And then let me just remove this lightning round thing really quick here. But yeah, so any advice to advertise for shadow banned or controversial biology? I'm guessing, or it could be. I'm not sure if that's a typo or not.
Yeah, I think it's more like services or products that are not as easy advertised on like Google and Facebook and that type of stuff. That not a market that I play in a ton, but the stuff that I've learned is things around like SEO, going into platforms where those questions are being asked. So like the person also mentioned, like Reddit, Rumble, like those kind of environments. It becomes a content play of like where can you answer these questions without getting censored in the right way. And then there's like there might be paths of running ads to a certain page, which then leads into something else. So it's almost like a middleman in the middle. And you'll see that kind of like with the CBD and like the weed kind of like area. Well, they'll do that kind of stuff, right? Like they'll find what can we say, and then how do we lead people down a funnel into a newsletter, which then we pitch the other thing that we want to pitch, because this was kind of like the way to get in.
Yeah.
So that's like some ways. It's not my expertise area, but that's some of the ways that I've seen some businesses do it.
Gotcha. And let's. I love Doug to death, so we're gonna show Doug's question here. He wanted to know about due diligence for agencies. Do you review any data as a service agencies?
Interesting. No, I haven't come across any data as a service agencies, but I do know some like development partners that do data work. Typically, it's like hand in hand because they have engineers on staff and they can think about that type of stuff. But no, not specifically that type of agency. If I had a customer that needed something like that, I'd be going wider to my network to figure it out.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. Well, I know we are almost at the top of the hour here. I've got 7 minutes left. I want to respect your time because I know you are extremely busy, man, as I've tried to get on your calendar before. So want to make sure I respect your time. Basically, closing everything out, I really, really appreciate you for coming on. Is there anything else that, you would like to share about, yourself, what you're working on? Ways that people can collaborate with you, like whatever your message to the world is, whatever you want to say. Give you a little bit of time here, and then I'll shift to closing some stuff out.
Yeah, no, the best way to connect with me if you want to connect is I'm on LinkedIn and my website, so www.cjammarketing.com. I also post a lot of personal stuff on Facebook. So it's a mix of like personal and business and stuff like that. So those are probably the best ways to find me. You have my name is Behdad Jamshidi, so you can find that anywhere. And yeah, if you need resources from marketing agencies or like how to vet them or ask questions, if you go to my website, the bottom there's a whole resource section there. It's all free. So feel free to grab the resources there. I got, how much agencies should be charging. I got the questions you should be asking and that type of stuff. And yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And also the links that were shown were both your LinkedIn as well as this is for the actual agency's website as well. So wanted to make sure we showcase those throughout. So this is also going to be recorded. So we also post these on Spotify, and we'll repost the final episode on YouTube. And obviously we've been on YouTube Live and LinkedIn Live this entire time. But I also have an amazing special announcement that I want to make. So I will also bring in my co-founder, Brandy, if she gives me the thumbs up on her screen to make sure that she is available and ready. Okay, cool. But either way, I wanted to let everybody know that Titen AI V2 is now live. So for all of my super connectors, professional communities, agencies, all the fun things, we definitely want to make sure that, we get a lot more people in there. We went from 2 AI systems to now 18, where now we can analyze your entire relationship health for people that are within the system, as well as, you being able to host your own events and being able to do, attendee matching, being able to curate community matching, a lot of different things, a lot of really exciting things, honestly, that I would love to talk more about with everybody. So if anybody has any questions, reach out to me personally. You can also follow us on LinkedIn as well. And obviously all the other social platforms. We're pretty much on everything. So definitely make sure you keep track of us there. And then as a final aside, I do want to mention Restream again, one of our amazing partners. We are partnered with 20 different organizations, including Restream. We also work with companies like Notion, Carta, Brex, everything there. We are going to start posting all of our perks inside of the platform now. So you will be able to see Restream along with a bunch of other ones. So definitely sign up for Titen AI today. And no, thank you all so much. And also shout out again to Brandy for monitoring chat and doing all of the things. She is the COO for Titen AI. I don't know if you want to unmute yourself and say hi really quick before we close everything out.
Hi, everybody. B, you did so good, and I appreciate you dropped so much wisdom, and I really hope that everybody kind of takes in and absorbs what all you said. I'm excited about looking into some of the resources in the newsletter that you had talked about, and so if anything, we'll try. I'll do my best to go and find or connect with you afterwards, and we can throw those in as well on the bottom of the YouTube stuff for you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Brandy. Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, man. And no, this has been great. We're also, I want to still do that other session that we talked about as well. So we'll do that at another time, but I really am glad we got to get this fireside chat in with you. So thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.